From the vast empty ocean to scattered islands, a silent war rages in the Pacific. A war over islands, tiny nations that don't get much attention. But this is where the war for the world is taking place, Asia. And here in the Solomon Islands, members gather for the Pacific's most influential summit. Right away the tension is high. The two superpowers aren't here. Anthony Albanese is, and he's about to enter a car when he's swarmed by reporters. They don't ask about the design of this SUV, but about who sent it. He replies, "It's just a car. It gets you from A to B." But at the back of his mind, he feels a constant anxiety about the situation. The problem is, this car was gifted by China for the summit. The optics were horrible. How he happily got in the car to be ferried around the island. 27 Great Wall SUVs were to be used by leaders traveling to the summit. These cars could be used to spy for China, and Australia would much rather prefer all dignitaries to ride in the 61 Australian donated cars. But the host country is firmly in the hands of China, so the PM plays it cool, doesn't say anything too compromising. But the tension is there, and it doesn't end when he exits the car and enters the forum. The real show is about to begin, and Albanese needs to perform. He needs to get the Solomon Islands back on Australia's side, and away from China. Australia is helping the Solomons in several ways, from cybersecurity to roads, policing, even a $20 million package to support the summit. All of this may seem trivial, but for a tiny country with a nominal GDP per capita comparable to Haiti, it's a pretty big deal. The Prime Minister even showed up for the handover. This is the reality, the down and dirty, hand-to-hand diplomatic combat both Australia and China happily engage in, both nations vying for every bit of influence and leverage. But will it be enough to sway the Solomons? In some cases, it's already too late, and has been since the Morrison days. It was back then when Australia felt the shock of betrayal, when the Solomons signed a security pact with China. It was these very islands, back in World War II, that Japan occupied to cut off Australia's supply routes. Now these islands were under another Red Army, the People's Liberation Army. Beijing was offering bags of cash to the Solomons. It was simply impossible to resist. For now the Solomons are gravitating towards the Middle Kingdom. It will take time for a change of heart. China's Pacific ambitions didn't stop here. Kiribati and Vanuatu are also considered partial to China. Kiribati is a part of China's Belt and Road Initiative, and Chinese police work in Kiribati and have a crime database there. The Chinese are also upgrading an airstrip, and Kiribati officially switched its recognition of Taiwan to China in 2019. As for Vanuatu, Chinese loans have financed major projects. Most shockingly perhaps, Vanuatu has delayed a $500 million pact with Australia for fears it could drive away Chinese funders. Both these countries in the end are economically dependent, and China has gladly filled that gap. China provides significant investments in infrastructure to Kiribati, and Vanuatu is receiving ongoing Chinese financial assistance. But all is not lost for Australia. On October 6th, Australia and Papua New Guinea signed a historical defense treaty. It's the first new alliance for Australia in more than 70 years. The treaty includes a provision where an attack on either country would be considered dangerous to each other's peace and security. The treaty grants Australia access to PNG's military bases and enables 10,000 PNG citizens to join the Australian military. Both countries have effectively acknowledged China's growing influence in the Pacific, but Papua New Guinea's PM has said that it might not join an Australia-China conflict, asserting its own sovereignty. This is the Great Wall which Western countries face when challenging China, an economic superpower in the heart of Asia. Even Australia has been ensnared by China's economic prowess. Australia, even when it challenges China in the South China Sea, is dependent economically on China. For this reason, it always thinks twice before taking any strong action. As we move further west, the more interesting it gets. For the longest of times, some Southeast Asian countries presumed they could be friends to all. Just like Australia's predicament, Southeast Asian countries believe they can rely on the US for security and China for trade. But now, as Cold War 2.0 heats up, Southeast Asia is forced to choose a side. These countries can be said to be somewhere in the middle, not entirely in either's camp, hedging their bets. The Philippines is the closest allied country with Australia and the US. This is clear when you look at the amount of training they do together. Australia's largest ever military exercise, Talisman Sabre, involved 19 countries, including the Philippines. Exercise Alon with the Philippines was also significant. It involved amphibious landings to simulate retaking an enemy-held island. Why would they simulate retaking an island, you may ask? Well, China has been very active in these waters, and all throughout the South China Sea. This is because they claim about 90% of this body of water, exemplified by the infamous 9-dash line. The problem is, this claim overlaps with other countries' rights of an exclusive economic zone. The EEZ allows countries to explore and exploit their own resources. This overlapping of claims, really China's flagrant claim, makes this one of the most volatile regions in the world, and China has only been ramping up its efforts to assert control over this area. Chinese ships frequently ram into Philippine ships in this area. These drills are thus a big deal. Brunei, Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, and Myanmar, on the other hand, are much closer to China. But even the US-Australia aligned countries are gradually moving towards China. Thailand was in the middle, but now it's marginally in China's camp. Malaysia and Singapore are also slowly moving towards China's side. Cambodia and Laos, who are already in China's camp, continue their move closer to their powerful neighbor. Although Southeast Asia's move towards China has to do with a mix of factors, there is one that stands out. Governments have to deliver economic performance. China is a valuable asset for these governments then. It has become the largest trading partner for ASEAN, and it also provides foreign direct investment to these countries. Many governments believe that China will support not only their economic needs, but also their political legitimacy. Most importantly though, these countries look at China and the economic miracle that has lifted so many to prosperity and think China can help them achieve similar results. Even countries with a horrible history have come around to their side. Indonesia was solidly in the camp of the US during the Cold War. The military during that time was suspicious of ethnic Chinese, and this led to a mass cleansing of alleged communist sympathizers during the 60s. But decades later, a new pro-growth agenda has led to much warmer relations. The promise of prosperity is transforming Asia into China's backyard. And this is exactly what Australia and the United States must realize if they have any chance of prevailing in the Pacific. The United States of America under Donald Trump, however, has created a sense of insecurity in Asia. The constant looming threat of tariffs is at best alienating, and at worst pushes away a long-held ally. In April, Trump imposed high reciprocal tariffs on Southeast Asian countries. Although he has paused these, he can always resume them in the future. No country, no government, no people want to live in this global economic uncertainty. Donald Trump is driving Southeast Asia into the arms of China. Vietnam is just the latest example of a country growing ever closer to China because of Trump. Australia is thus faced with the region going red, and its paramount ally becoming chaotic and unreliable. But all is not lost, far from it. Australia has emphasized that they want to grow closer with their regional neighbors and help them develop. This in the end is exactly what these countries want. Nothing more, nothing less. But China's strategic ambitions in the Pacific and its intense focus on Taiwan only means that it will increase its pressure in the region. This means Australia must return the pressure and also increase its efforts in the region, or else soon the Pacific might turn red as it did so many decades ago. But Australia shouldn't have to fight this alone. While the US is faltering, Australia has a wide range of allies to choose from. Australia isn't alone or isolated if the US retreats on the global stage. The truth is that many of the countries in the Pacific rely on Australia for development and security. Australia can play the role of a counterbalance to China. Many of these countries appreciate and welcome Australian influence, for it is not threatening. The future can be Australia's. All it has to do is take it. I would love to know what you think about the new Cold War in the Pacific. How should Australia handle increasing Chinese pressure all throughout the Pacific? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Check out these other videos on Australia-China relations. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a like and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again.